Good evening, everybody, and thank you very much for coming onto tonight's training. So this week, unfortunately, for you lot, is just a lot of me speaking. But there is actually a reason for it. I did start to do a presentation on tonight's training, which is using administrative and management skills effectively. But what I noticed about 6 or 7 slides in is that I wasn't really getting the information in there that I wanted to. So I gave up on it. It's still half done down there at the bottom of my computer screen. So I'm literally just going to chat instead. I just find it easier when it comes to this sort of thing. I can give you guys more information, and in return, it means that you guys have got more questions for me. And it is as straightforward as that. So literally, as I've just said, effective management and administrative skills. I've tried to base this as much as possible for home-based. Excuse me. And I know that might sound silly, but with most of what we do, it doesn't matter if we're sat at home, if we're sat in a high street store, if we're sat in a travel agency call center. But with things like this, unfortunately, it can make a difference. So I have tried to do that as much as possible. So hopefully I have nailed that, hopefully. So basically, the whole point of doing this is to make everybody's businesses smoother, to make them stronger, and to make you work smarter, not harder. I'm sure that that's something that we have all heard throughout probably school and what have you, but it is true. So these kind of skills, these management skills, these administrative skills, I'm going to have to try and stop saying that throughout. It's only going to go one way. They are your superpower for so many different reasons. But off the top of my head, / the notes that I've written down, this builds trust with your clients. It builds the loyalty. It keeps them coming back. It builds the rapport. You guys staying organized, staying protected, protecting yourselves, protecting your clients. Again, that boils back down to that first one. It builds the trust, it builds the loyalty, therefore it builds the retention. And, as much as in businesses, you probably find retention rates, they aim for what I think is quite a low number. They tend to aim for between 20 and 30%. With what we do as agents, there's no reason why we can't be doubling that retention percentage. The amount of your customers coming back to you should, with these kind of skills, you should definitely be able to hit the 60+% mark. And finally, it helps you grow your business, but grow it with confidence as well. So with regards to these superpowers, I feel like we have done quite a lot of training on management and on skills and all that kind of thing. But it does obviously also mean that you guys have a dual role. You're not just a travel agent. You do not sit and you do not answer to other people's targets and, other people's working hours and all of those kind of things that actually have probably drawn you towards this kind of thing. You're a dual agent. You're a dual role. So what I pull from that is you are the CEO of your business. Amazing. You are the CEO of your hours. You are the CEO of your rules and how many inquiries you're taking a day and how many social media posts you're putting out and how many agents you might be onboarding. But of course, what that does also mean is that you are the face of customer service. You are the face of admin, the marketing, the compliance, as well as the bookings themselves. So it's absolutely fantastic. And I'm sure that none of you would change it. I couldn't think of anything worse than now going to sit back in a store from 9 till 5:30, whatever it might be, in what my uniform was, included a neck scarf, and the dress that was too tight and whatever else it might be. You have to have your lunch at this time, etc., etc. I couldn't right now think of anything worse than going back to that. So absolutely, CEO of your business, your rules, your business, you do it. You do what you please, how you please. But like I say, it does also come with that fact of balancing the bookings, the admin, the marketing, the compliance, and of course, the customer service. And that can be a little bit daunting, but all of these kind of things help. So building client relationships. So from a people management perspective, again, this isn't anything new to any of you. We've done this on more than one occasion. Listening, actively listening, showing empathy, giving your customers time to speak, not cutting them off. Again, this will sound so straightforward and so simple, but I know me personally, I have to think about that kind of thing. And it's not because I'm rude and it's not because I'm not listening. It's actually the complete opposite. When I am listening to somebody, I want to very much be yes, yes. And I want to jump in and say, oh, just while you're on that, can I ask you this? And for me, great. When I'm talking to some of you guys on the phone, I'm sure some of you may well pick up on it and just want to put the phone down on me. It all comes from a place of passion. But when it comes to a customer and they are describing to you what their perfect holiday is, or, effectively you want their money from them, you want them to feel comfortable in handing their money to you and being trusted to book this holiday. You can't be like me. You cannot be that overly passionate in your face. Passion's great in the right way. So ensuring that you are listening actively, you are pausing. You may want to mirror them. Again, something that we've spoken about before. If you have somebody on the other end of the phone that, perhaps speaks quite slowly, may pause quite often, and you've got me on my end of the phone speaking the way that I do, may not work. Give them time, give them space to breathe, show the empathy where the empathy needs to come in, personalize every single interaction. And again, you will all be learning this without realizing that you're learning it. Every time you pick up the phone and you speak to a different customer, you will instantly recognize, because it's built within us, of course, you will instantly recognize that their personality is different to the last person that you spoke to. And that obviously will have a domino effect. They're all going to be different. You will get people like me on the other end of the phone that you probably can't keep quiet. On the flip side, you're going to have people that you have to draw things out of. And the way that you can personalize those interactions is exactly back to that first point: listening, actively listening, showing the empathy, giving them room to breathe, giving them room to explain whatever it is that they want to explain. Keep your personality in there. There's no need to ever drop your personality, but just ensure that you're able to build that rapport with listening and understanding maybe an angle that they're coming from, or like I say, the way that they might be speaking, if it's slower, if it's quieter, if they're a bit louder and a bit more brash. You can mirror that, and that will instantly show that you're listening, and it will also go back to the previous content that I was talking about there, and it will build that rapport and it will bring them back to you as well. And finally, for the client relationship side of things, following up with care and gratitude. They are the exact words that I've written. Now, again, it's not something that we haven't spoken about. We have spoken about these follow-ups. I will never, ever sit here and say, you should be doing this, you should not be doing that. Because again, I do not know the customer that you have had either on those emails or on the other end of the phone. But what I will say is, again, by using those previous points, listening, understanding, showing the empathy, personalizing your interactions, you guys will have a clearer idea of the follow-up, how that follow-up should look. Now, I could very much go down a generic route of Ideally, you want to be following up within 24 hours. I do not disagree with that. I very much do agree that you guys are putting the work in, and you're putting so much work in because you want these sales. Do not give that customer a chance to slip away and go elsewhere. But what I don't expect is a 12-hour follow-up, a 24-hour follow-up, a 36-hour follow-up. And unfortunately, in some businesses, that is what they expect. And you do obviously have to balance that line of care, gratitude, and cold calling. We don't expect that at all. But follow-ups should absolutely be part of your people management strategy. There's nothing worse, and you will have all had this. There is nothing worse than being sat waiting for somebody to call you and that call never coming through. Which also brings me to a kind of side note that if you do give a customer a time that you are going to call them, make sure that you put that in your notes, in your calendar, whatever it might be, wherever you know that you're going to be able to pick that up, if it has to have an alarm on it or something like that. Because again, there is nothing worse than having that, than being sat knowing that you do a phone call, waiting for it to come around and it not happening. Anything that you've done prior to that, excuse me, you absolutely could have nailed their inquiry. You could have beaten their price by £1,000 and you could have given them even more than what they asked for and ticked every single possible box. You will have lost all trust and rapport if you give them a time that you are going to call them back or, interact, and that does not happen. So these strong relationships are built on trust. They are built on care. They are built on empathy. And these small sort of personalizations, they really do go a long way, and it will turn that one-time customer into a loyal fan, let's say, of yours. So small things, big outcomes. And then on to managing expectations. Apologies if I'm throwing a lot of information at you. I'm happily going to take questions and stuff at the end. As I say, this is just going to be a lot of me talking because I can just sort of personalize it a bit more. So on to managing expectations. Communication is, of course, always going to be key. But where you need to take that up a notch is that your communication needs to be clear and it needs to be early. And what I mean by clear and early is not necessarily how I'm currently giving you this sentence, which is slower and maybe a little bit more pronounced, but clearly telling that customer what your expectations are or what their expectations should be from you. Or if they are giving you an expectation, you managing that expectation. Do you know what, Mr. Smith? I'm just going to let you know right now, I fully appreciate that you would like me to call you at 12 o'clock. However, I am looking at my diary right now and I know that I'm going to struggle with 12 o'clock. I could do 11:30 or I could do 12:30. Do either of those work for you? I'm not going to look at my diary, see that I can't ring Mr. Smith at 12 o'clock and then say to him, oh, do you know what? Yeah, that should be okay. That should be fine. Yeah, let me put you in. It's not going to work. You are setting yourself up and that customer up for failure. So being very clear and being early with it. Just get it in there, manage the expectations, manage theirs, and also set yours with your customer as well. They won't be disheartened because you are being honest and you are being open. So it's a really, really big one. I mean, communication is key throughout, isn't it? But certainly when it comes to not having that that person in front of you, maybe not being able to read their body language, communication is heightened even further. And the next thing is setting boundaries, but setting your boundaries with kindness. Again, they kind of go hand in hand with the last point there. Nobody is going to be mad at you for setting a boundary. Obviously, if I turned around to any single one of you, picked up my phone at 10 o'clock at night and said, "Why are you ringing me at 10 o'clock? Don't call me at 10 o'clock." It's never going to work. And you'd probably put the phone down and, call me every name under the sun. And so you should. If I answered my phone at 10 o'clock and said, "Hello, Miss Agent, are you okay? It's 10 o'clock. I'm definitely not expecting any phone calls at this time." Find out what it is that they're after, and then obviously go from there. I'm saying pretty much the same thing, two very, very different ways, two very, very different feelings, and two very different outcomes. Exactly the same with you guys. There is nothing wrong with you having, I think an agent, again, I won't mention any names. I think we do have an agent who literally puts their working hours on their automatic responses on social media. There's nothing wrong with that. You are instantly setting your boundaries for anybody that is contacting you. Don't get me wrong, I totally see it. I see it all day, every day. The amount of you that go above and beyond because you are obviously hungry for the sales and you're passionate about getting the sales in. But the fantastic thing with being sat here and being an agent like this is that you can set your own boundaries. You are your own CEO. As long as you do that in the right way and you do it with kindness, again, who is going to be mad at that? If there is somebody that's mad that you only work till 8 p.m., for example, then I would probably say that that's kind of on them. And the final thing under managing expectations that I've popped down here is handling tough conversations professionally. Now, this can absolutely scare the bejesus out of some people. That could be a confrontational, where I've put tough conversations, that could be confrontational. A tough conversation could be telling somebody that, I don't know, let's say, I mean, I would like to hope not, but let's say, for example, their price range, their budget is completely unrealistic. You've still got that person that wants 7 nights all inclusive in Benidorm for £99 and they aren't budging on that. That can be a tough conversation. If you have those tough conversations, which you are going to face, you will face them. Aaron has just put there, he is that person. He wants 1 week in Benidorm all inclusive for £99. And that could be a really tough conversation for people to have, to actually ring that customer who, you've spent the time on, you've built the rapport with, and then to almost, it could almost feel deflating on both parts, and you're giving that news. So it very much can be a tough conversation. However, if you have that conversation in the right manner, and as I've put down there, professionally, you can absolutely get round that. Now, again, it's always going to depend on the person at the other end of the phone, let's say, for example. And again, I appreciate you don't have that face-to-face to read their body language. Once you've built a rapport with somebody, you will understand maybe what makes them tick. You'll understand a little bit of their personality. If they're a jokey kind of person, you can professionally have that conversation of, let me ask you, Mr. Smith, when was the last time you saw 7 nights all inclusive in Benidorm for £99? Or in fact, Mr. Smith, when was the last time you saw 7 nights all inclusive anywhere? Tell me. It's getting your point across. It's not rude. It's not too abrasive. It's that person in that scenario is somebody who is maybe a little bit jokey, and then you handle it from there. If you've got somebody who maybe doesn't have that personality necessarily, again, there's many ways of doing it, but you can switch it up. I'm not going to lie to you, Mr. Smith. You've definitely set me a challenge here. I do like challenges, don't get me wrong. And a line I've used for years and years. I try my hardest to never let a computer beat me. I try my hardest. However, on this occasion, I need to be as transparent as possible. I have got you some prices. The prices that I found are starting at, I don't know, £299. However, what I've done is I've actually broken that down for you. So that works out at £43 per day for not just your hotel, all of your food, all of your drinks, and of course your flights and everything in between. And again, you are professionally having a tough conversation about price, which is always going to be, I think, the main one that comes up. People do panic about it. There's so many ways around it. Manage those expectations. Let them know. Tell them. Don't, pussyfoot around it. Just, this is how it is, but this is what I have got for you. So as I say, just rounding that bit off there, communication, clear communication is key. Do not be afraid to set your own boundaries. It is part of you being your own boss, and it will help you deliver better service all around. Not only will it help you deliver better service, but it will also help you avoid any burnouts. That you sat there hour after hour after hour because you perhaps haven't set your expectations correctly, or you just really you've told this customer that you can get this done within 2 hours or whatever it might be, and you will get to the point where you're sat at that computer and you're not doing anything, you're just staring at it for no reason, and you are in the middle of a burnout, as I would call it. On to my next part, which is some time management tips. And again, I'm sure we have all had time management tips, and there is nothing here that you won't have heard before, but using scheduling tools. So Calendly, even just the calendars within your emails, on your phones, any kind of scheduling tools that are going to work for you, use them. Use them wisely, use them in abundance. Some you may need alarms for example, if you have scheduled a call with somebody at a specific time, I know your phone will give you an alarm at a certain time that you set it to. You might do that 15 minutes before your call is due, whatever it might be. Scheduling tools work, and they work really, really well. For anybody who has their work emails also hooked up to their phone, like I do, I also know that then my Outlook calendar works wonders for me, because it doesn't matter if I'm not on the laptop at that specific time, it's also going to come through on my phone. So for me, as simple and straightforward as that is, I've not had to download anything new. It's already built in within the Outlook app. Excuse me. As I say, works perfectly. But time management is absolutely key. If you don't have very good time management skills, this domino effect of each person or each task that you've set yourself is just going to keep knocking down. And again, you're going to come back to that sort of burnout phase of, I've now blanked out for a while. The next thing is blocking time out for admin versus client work. Excuse me. So, there can be quite a bit of admin to do depending on the booking. Now, obviously, that isn't to be negative. This is great for your customer, and it's great for you as well. But one of the worst things that you can try and do is have 5 different inquiries that you need to be getting on with. And of course, you want that money, and putting those aside to deal with admin that you probably don't need to deal with there and then. Now, I know there are sorry, my mind, my mouth, everything is going. I know in some circumstances, there is certain things that you have to do almost instantly. For those of you that make a TUI booking, I am completely aware that you obviously do have to go out of your way to email me, etc. However, if you build that in as part of the booking time, the client work, and it is just a 1 minute job, it still then wouldn't really be an admin task. If you blocked specific time out for admin, and this again will all depend on how far along in your business building and in your journey you are. For some of you, you may need to block out more frequent and maybe longer times for admin. Others may be able to get away with doing 1 or 2 admin days, admin times per week. Others, hopefully all of you eventually, may well need to do 1 a day. But it's just a really, really easy tip. Client work, admin work, keep them separate. You're not taking time away from earning your money. And you know that you've already scheduled something in there to deal with any admin side of it. It could be tickets. It could be getting API details from customers. It could be checking them in for a cruise or something like that. I know it's changing, but it could be that you need to contact JTA because it's a Ryanair flight that you've got. You know, all of those kind of things. That customer does not need to add special assistance onto their holiday there and then. That can be done at 3 o'clock this afternoon because I know that it's not going anywhere. I'm not time sensitive on it. So just things like that. And then the final thing I put down here is avoiding multitasking traps. Now, I've done this, and I've done this quite often in the past, where I think, right, do you know what? While I'm doing this, I can also do this. That's no problem. I know that this isn't going to take me very long, and I can still be doing this at the same time. Where it doesn't work. It will work maybe once or twice in every 10 times. But those other 8 times, it does not work. What it actually does is it takes you away from the task that you're already doing. And it could be because you're on your way to burning out with it. You've been on it too long. It's frustrating you. And you think, I'll take my mind off it with something else. What you're actually doing is saying, I'm putting that aside. It can wait for now. And all you're doing is avoiding coming back to it. And it's a trap. It's a vicious circle. Like I say, I've been there. Again, I'll never tell you what to do or how you should do things, but something that I always found really, really helpful. And also from a time management perspective, but to avoid those traps, was to break everything down into small, as I call them, bite-sized chunks. But I appreciate that I sound like a teacher when I say that. I don't know how else to put it. Bite-sized chunks is what it is. If you spend 20 minutes doing something and you've already pre-planned in your head, after these 20 minutes, I'm going to go and make myself a coffee. What you're doing is you're walking away from the task, but you're not getting rid of the task. You're walking away from it. You're making yourself a very simple, straightforward coffee. And without realizing, you're rebooting yourself just by, standing by the kettle, waiting for it to boil, going to grab the milk. You are recharging and rebooting your brain, but you haven't left that task. Your brain isn't on a different task. It's coming back to it. So reboot, recharge, stretch your legs, whatever it might be. Take the dog round the block because he needs a walk. Ring your mum back because you've got a missed call off her after those 20 minutes, and then bang, straight back to it. So I always found a really good way of avoiding those like multitask traps was to do that, break it down, 20 minutes, and then I'm having a brew, making a brew. I'm coming back to it, and it's almost like a fresh pair of eyes that are looking at the same thing. So at the bottom of that, what I've put, time is one of your most valuable resources. Protect your own time, plan ahead, and batch your tasks. Break them down, put them together, break them down into your small chunks. And you will find your energy and your batteries are recharged without actually doing anything. And those very simple, very straightforward, free tools, which a lot of you will have, I'm sure 99% of us have them in our phones. A huge percentage of us will have them in our emails and things like that. Those calendars, those alarms, those scheduling tools, they work, and they work very, very well. Sometimes it really is the most simple of things. And of course, from there, motivation and mindset. These are huge in being successful. And they are also huge in ensuring that these negative things that we've spoken about, these burnouts and, protecting your time and all that kind of thing, having the motivation, having the right mindset will ensure that these things don't take over. And it's so simple and it's so straightforward. And, I've noticed, certainly now that I am part of this WhatsApp group and things as well, that actually we're quite good at doing that, which is great because the UK isn't known for sort of blowing their own trumpets and things like that. But it's great to see that within that group. Now, one of the key things, celebrating small wins. And again, I've seen it, so I know it's already happening. But I also am completely aware that some people feel very uncomfortable in telling the WhatsApp group that they've done their first booking. And they feel really uncomfortable saying that they have booked their first cruise. And I think that that's just us as a country. I think that's us as a people. Like I say, we're not great at that. But celebrating these small wins, not only will it motivate you as the person, it motivates others, because what they see is that, let's say, Kieran, for example, they will see, people in that WhatsApp group will see that he joined 1 month ago. And within that month, he has now done this booking and this booking. Kieran feels motivated because he's got, obviously, people saying well done to him. But what he's not realizing is that he's also motivating those people who have only been here for 1 week, 2 weeks, whatever it might be. And you are motivating them to get to that stage too. And absolutely right. Positivity breeds positivity. So celebrating those small wins, no matter how small that they are, we laugh and we joke, but we actually do celebrate when Lorna gets on these trainings first time round. It sounds so daft, but I know then the next week she's like, right, I'm doing this again this week. And that is obviously a very funny and probably slight side joke, depending on how often you're on these trainings. But I know that it gives her the motivation to do it again next week. And the next thing that I've put on this, which absolutely coincides, is connecting with other agents, with your peers. We've said it so many times before. There is enough pie. There is enough pieces within this travel pie, this multi-billion, trillion-dollar industry to go around. So that is what your agents, your fellow peers are there for as well. They're there to help each other. You're there to celebrate with each other. And you're there to obviously answer any questions, which again, I've seen you all doing, and you do it all so, so well. But you all bounce off each other. It gives you all a better mindset. It gives you all a better motivation, a really, really positive outlook on things. People do get down if they have lost a customer for whatever reason. And people do get down if they've maybe had a bit of a dry spell with bookings. But again, somebody else putting something in there reboots them, recharges them, puts them back in the right frame of mind, and off they go again. What I've put at the bottom of the next thing I've put there is keep on learning and evolving. Again, that's just my teeth falling out there. Keep learning and keep evolving. Now, obviously, you have seen, certainly those of you who have probably been around a little bit longer, have seen the amount of work, the amount of effort that is being put in to ensuring that you guys can keep learning and you can keep evolving and you can keep growing. That is something I know, certainly sat here, that I appreciate massively for, everybody that is helping to do this. And the website, not only has the website happened, but it's happened like that. and it's happened really, really well. It hasn't been a case of let's get this out quick because they need something and then it's just full of issues and problems. It's been done. It's been done in such a timely manner and it's been done really, really well. And it does help you guys to keep learning. It does help you guys to keep evolving. And the good thing with that is as you're evolving and as your team is growing, you're then able to implement the same things to them, ensuring that they can keep learning and they can keep evolving as well. And just what I've put at the bottom of my notes here with regards to motivation and mindset is that I am completely aware that running your own business can be isolating. I understand that. Staying motivated, celebrating these small wins, celebrating the progressions and things that you are making with peers, with the other agents, with the guys in America, with your sponsors, with me, whoever it might be. It really does help you stay motivated and it helps others get motivated. It keeps you on the right path and it stops that any feelings of the isolation. And like I say, we all know that it can be. It doesn't need to be. We've got the tools there. We've got many, many people around us to ensure that we all can stay positive, and in that right frame of mind. And then from there, I've done a little bit, a very, very small amount, only because I've been asked a few times on financial management. Now, my top headline here for this is very much just go to the government website because I am not having my name next to anything that's not quite right. I'm not having it coming out of my mouth. The best thing you can do is just go to the government website. But for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, I do get a lot of questions about tax and things like that. I think something that most of you will probably be aware of, because there's a lot of changes with like eBay and Vinted and things like that, is that now as soon as you earn like £1,000 worth of profit, so commission, you do of course have to start declaring that. But something I would say is you are under no obligation to obviously register yourself as sort of self-employed the second you join the program, because you're obviously not actively selling and things straight away. However, what I would say is, first of all, you've done it, it's out the way if you just get it done and dusted. And secondly, your monthly subscription, I believe you can actually claim the tax back on, because it is a subscription that you would not have if it wasn't for the job. So that's just another, another reason to sort of get it done and dusted. There are, of course, really, really useful tools, QuickBooks and Xero. I'm sure there's other, they're just ones that I know of. I'm not too sure from a cost perspective, but again, you can actually claim the tax back on it. So if you are paying money for something like QuickBooks or Xero, you can actually then claim the tax back on it, which is crazy. So I'm not too sure from a cost perspective because it's not something that I do personally. But those tools, from people I do know that use them, work, and they work very, very well. And again, straightforward one-liner, set some time aside for any financial reviewing that you need to do. There is nothing worse than leaving it till the last minute. And again, guys, you know how transparent I am with you. I've done it this year. I left it till the last minute, not because I didn't think about it and not because I knew I needed to do it, but because I sort of had an idea, I just left it. And then the idea that I had in my head actually got tripled. So the amount of tax that I thought I was going to have to pay was almost 3 times more. So don't do a me. And I should learn from my own notes here. So yeah, set some time aside for it. If you have the time to track any income and the expenses weekly, fortnightly, all you're doing is helping yourself in the long run. And just bear in mind, like your financial clarity is actually really, really empowering. And if you make that, if you can, if you make it a weekly habit to review your numbers and you start seeing those numbers progress week by week by week, it's taking you back, and it's taking you back to the motivation and the mindset, and it's giving you that path to continue and fight and, grab everything that you can. And that's really it, with regards to everything I've written down there. So just as a summary, use the tools that you've got. They don't all have to cost money. A lot of them are already built in within, our phones and our laptops. And I mean, AI can probably answer half of the questions that you may have financially and things like that. But create clear structures for yourself. Review these things. If you do need to be, like me, one of those people that breaks things down into bite-sized pieces, do it. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Manage your expectations, set clear guidelines so that people are aware from the get-go that, you probably aren't going to answer them at 2 o'clock in the morning, and that is okay. It's fine. But the more of these things that you do, the easier it's going to be from the get-go, from the second you get started. And it's going to make things clearer and easier and simpler and confidence boosting the further you go along as well. Now, the other thing that I do have, and it's entirely down to you guys if you want them, I do also have, bear with me, just go back to my emails. I have made, and they are obviously very straightforward, but I have made a time blocking planner should anybody wish to use it. I can send it out, and a little bit of like an admin checklist as well. So if anybody does want those, I can happily send them out to you or pop them somewhere, so that they're all readily available to use for you all. Hopefully you've got something out of that. Like I say, I never do these trainings and expect everybody to walk away being an expert in any kind of field. But if you can take something out of this, if there's something in there that you maybe hadn't thought about, I'm only here to try and make your guys' lives easier. And any way that I can do that, I will certainly try. I think between us, I think we're all really, really getting there with that kind of thing. But yeah, these things, these free tools, these just thinking about things, it's so easy because we all do it all day, every day. We just pick up our phones, we pick them up and we talk. Just by having that extra minute, knowing the phone call that's come in, knowing the kind of person that you've got on the other end of it, all you're doing is helping yourselves succeed. That's all you're doing, because you are preempting in your head the kind of customer that you've got coming. I know for me personally, if I was having a slower, quieter person on the other end of that phone, I know that 5 minutes before I was going to make that call to them for the follow-up or whatever it might be, I would probably just sit, take a few breaths, because obviously that's not my usual personality. I am fast, I am loud, I'm quite, brash. So I know that I would then need to take maybe just a couple of minutes to breathe, relax, think about the person that's going to be on the end of the phone, and that I probably need to go in calmer, smoother, maybe a bit lower than I usually would. And again, that's okay. All I'm doing is setting myself up for success because I'm already aware of what's to come, and I'm not starting here and then having to pull myself down to their level. I'm already going in knowing what's going to be on the end of that phone. And yeah, obviously it's Thursday night, which means in my book it's the weekend, of course. Everybody enjoy your weekend and have a lovely evening. Thank you all very much.